Now.
Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm actually in front of the camera for just a little bit. Dillon's going to be doing most of the work like he normally does, which I'm fine with. But this gives me a chance to point out some of the stuff that we're going to be doing and why we're making the decisions that we're making. Now, so far, we've followed all the instructions, and we've got everything screwed in, and what we're going to do is take out each screw at a time, and we're probably going to chamfer the hole so it's a little bit bigger. We want a good surface for the spot weld to be able to adhere to. But we're going to be taking each one out and welding it, and because of the fact that they're all going to be fastened in, we're not going to have to worry about metal warpage. So we can just go straight on down the line. And one of the things that we will have to skip around on, oh, too old for this, is right here where we did initial spot welds just to hold everything in place. We're going to be filling in this gap with weld, and we'll be doing just little bits at a time because you don't want it to warp from the heat, which is very common with sheet metal. And then something we also noticed that we're going to have to do, we're going to have to make a cut here, and Dillon will pound that to where it's flat, and we'll be able to fill that in. And then Dillon, if you want to come into here, something that I don't think the instructions looked at, but there's a gap here, and quite honestly, strength wise it really wouldn't make that much difference, but we're going to go ahead and weld that in and permanently join everything here so that there's no gaps for moisture, which also entails this here where the two halves of the floor pan join together. We could just spot weld it and the strength would be just fine, but my perfectionism won't let me do that, so we're going to go ahead and fill that gap in with weld and grind it down flat. Now this part here, we're going to go ahead and weld here, so this is all one piece, but we're going to leave these screws the way they are so that we can pull it off for serviceability. And I think later, at a later date, we're going to put Nutserts in there. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. If you're not, it's like a pop rivet that you install threads where you can pull this on and off, kind of like factory. So we're going to switch sides of the camera here, and I'm going to let Dillon do his thing. And this is actually a really big step. This is something he and I have both been looking forward to for years. So follow along with this, and hope you enjoy it as much as we're going to enjoy doing this.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and explain what the problem is.
So what happened with the last floorboard that we were putting in on the driver's side was that the mounts we made are sticking up just a little higher than we want them to be. So what we had to do was first grind them down so that they're flush, so that this is going to sit right on it. But then also we had to hammer down the support so that it would come flush with the rest of the floorboards. So this needs to come down. What you'll see in other parts of this video is that I have cut down and trimmed. I cannot create that buttress connection when we're tack welding this in without that being flush. So what we're going to have to do is we will take this, clean it up, smash it down, but in a precise manner, smash it down so that this will fit right and hit with where I've cut. On top of it, I'm going to be making another incision over here to get this to fit just right like we did on the other side. So a lot of this is just little minute details, having to align them as we go. And like you always want to do, don't cut too much off. It's just slowly work at it, because if you cut way too much off, then you end up having to fix another problem that you've created for yourself. And we don't want to make more problems for ourselves. We already have enough of them. So that's our next step here, is to smooth it, smash it down, and this will line up a lot better, and then we'll be able to tack weld this into place, which you'll see later. So
Different angle.
because I was like, huh, a little piece like hit me around the eye, and like, that doesn't feel right.
Okay, Dylan, do you want to kind of explain what we talked about off camera, which we should have talked about on camera, so we're trying to make up for it right now?
Yeah, so what we have to do next, our next step right now, is to put in the panels that go above the transmission. Now, we're not particularly sure yet if this is what's going to be the final form for us, because if the transmission that we're modifying, we're doing a bunch of modifications, right, for four-wheel drive. So that might cause this to be different, and we'll have to modify our own transmission covers here. However, what we're doing now is going to be creating a stabilization for the rest of the cab so that we can move on from this and start to really get things in place, because these will, what I'm doing right now is I'm going to make sure that these are lined up correctly. The problem we have with this bottom panel is that as we as it gets further up, it gets thinner and thinner on where the metal meets. Down here, I'm definitely going to have a lot of, I know it's probably hard to see, but I'm going to have a lot of room for working with the screws. But what my dad suggested, because I was like, well, I'm not sure what to do with this. Do we etch out a line to make sure we have a idea of where this is going? But what he said, and it's really obviously a good idea, is put these in place where we think they're going to be, right? And we want to make sure they line up just right. And I'm going to put a tap screw at the top here. And I'm going to put another one right here, so that this is kind of one piece. And then from there we'll be able to put in other tap screws along the way here, so that it has a place to be. And obviously with the tap screws, what we've discussed before is that this is supposed to be a temporary placeholder, so it doesn't have to be permanent. And also it helps when we need to weld in, we'll take these out and weld in our tack welds so that it has stability. But we don't do that, of course, until we're completely done. So right now, this is, as I said before, temporary, and this is going to be our quick fix to making sure that this stays in place for temporary means. So first, I'm going to do one tap screw, and maybe we'll film it right now, or we'll take a break, and then you'll see us doing that.
One of the things that we are going to be doing, and we're going to use these holes as a guide, a rough guide. I want, depending on, well, despite what transmission tunnel we end up with, we are going to be installing nutserts into the sheet metal below. What that does is it's like a pop rivet that installs threads.
And what's a pop rivet?
Pop rivet is joining two pieces of metal together. It expands and it rivets it into place. It's the best way I can explain it right now without actually showing anybody.
Like an Oreo cookie? You got the two pieces of metal, but you got the pop rivet in the middle with the cream filling?
Well, you drill a hole in the middle and put the pop rivet in.
Yeah.
And it expands and holds the metal into place.
Oh, okay. So that's like putting a balloon inside of something so it pushes things apart.
Yes.
Also, Oreo, if you want to sponsor us, that would be great too.
We will take any sponsorship right now.
Yeah.
All right. So, but we're going to leave this for right now. The reason I want to do the nutserts is while this will hold great, it's going to be very sharp underneath. And if we do nutserts, we can use bolts that have a dull end that won't cut the crap out of us when we're trying to work on this. I'm trying to think of for future. It's up to you where you want to go.
Okay. Were we going to do a bead?
You can.
up to here probably, so that.
Yeah,
at
don't,
least that-
yeah, you don't want to touch that.
Okay.
We can finish the rest later.
Okay, 'cause I got those 5.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's good, but I don't know that. Can you look at the underbelly, or does it? See if it like penetrated and did it right.
Oh yeah, you got some good penetration.
Okay, good. Because I was a little worried on the driver's side one, the very last one I did. It kind of separated when I pulled the screw out. I wasn't sure.
It's once we get this off, we can redo it.
Yeah.
We're still going to need to seam seal the underside. There's a gap. Which,
Okay.
you know, of course there's going to be.
Yeah.
But nope. Whichever ones you want to do next.
So just a straight, just pooling bead all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said before, but that one's gonna warp if we tried to do that all the way
Right,
through.
because it's freestanding
Okay.
and that'll move back and forth.
So this will be better to
Yep.
go straight with. Okay.
Yep.
Because I like doing that, but I also
I do
know we
too,
need to
but
make
you have
sure.
to be very careful with sheet metal.
Yeah. I don't want to overdo this. So, okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start welding. I have to go again a little bit more. I don't think I get wide enough. I want to give it a minute, right?
Well, I would go ahead and move on to another area right now.
Okay.
Give it a chance to really cool down and set up.
What's another spot that we were talking about, like to get in here?
Well,
Or
let's do the holes first. And then we'll go through once everything is solidly welded down, then we'll go and, because this, we're going to have to skip around on this too, because it's two sheet metal edges, like on here.
So when it comes to these, should I start taking?
Just do one at a time
Okay.
and weld away.
Okay.
Any one you want.
Okay. I didn't know.
Don't need to worry about skipping around.
Okay. Just get my make sure my blood flow is still happening. So
Yeah.
so I don't know how it's gonna be around.
And if we can reuse these, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if we don't, that's fine too. They were bought as consumables.
I know it's slightly tedious just having to go back and forth, but
It is.
it's worth it. Oh. Well.
And Ryobi, if you want to sponsor us, we could have had two of these, and we could do the drilling, or the chamfering, and the screw removal with two of them.
Just
Wouldn't
go
have to switch out.
alternate.
Because we're really happy with this. I had a friend of mine give this to me, and it hasn't failed us yet.
Okay. Welding.